but then also like some of my favorite movies, like, and I'm biased obviously, like The Fifth Element had a game. That's a peak Bruce Willis movie. Which I don't think I've ever. You've seen The Fifth Element, right? No, have you not seen The Fifth Element?
I don't know.
Lilu Multipass has Mila Jovovich in it.
If I've seen it, it's been a long time.
Oh man, we got to watch that one. But Fifth Element had a game. Blade had a game. But my favorite hidden gem
Of
on
course.
the PS1 is the Die Hard trilogy game. And no, but here's the thing. Here's what's so cool about the Die Hard trilogy game. This game had 3 games on it. It had the first Die Hard movie as a game, and it was your typical kind of third person. It actually played like a first person Doom shooter, but it was third person. It was a third person shooter. Alrighty, welcome back for episode 24. We are officially at our 6 month mark.
It's a long
Finally,
time.
dude, I know. So I've been counting down, kind of. 6 months seems like a milestone, like a threshold or something. I don't know, but
It's half a year.
yeah, I know. So April 14th, episode 24, 6 months in. Today's episode, our story mode is going to be called Licensed to Play. So, last week we had our quad esports episode that actually wasn't as aggressive and contentious as I kind of expected it to be. Um,
I think it was more because Wayne is actually passionate about that stuff. So he didn't want to yell at people.
no, that you know what, that's fair. And you know what though, I meant to tell you this before we started, but it ties in perfectly with us talking about last week's episode. I did download Pokemon Champions, and I have played 3 matches so far, like online matches. I won 2, which was very exciting, but then I lost one, like barely, which was a little upsetting. But it's pretty cool. After we're done here, I'm gonna boot it up and play it a little more, just check it out. But I was able to pull in like some of my Pokemon from Scarlet and stuff like that, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I played a lot of that game.
Oh, I'm aware you're already like the Master Ball rank or whatever it is.
No, I'm Ultra Ball, but I'm close to
Hey,
master.
it's up your alley though. Up your alley.
Yeah, but I also have I've already finished the battle pass.
Oh my gosh. Did you get the premium thing? I saw there was a premium thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I probably won't do that, but yeah, anyway, squirrel moment, but License to Play is the episode today. So we all can remember a time like in the 90s and 2000s where like every game that came out, or I'm sorry, every movie that came out had like some kind of game tie-in. And we kind of transitioned away from that, and then they went to like inspired by, but so we're going to talk about that, just some absolute bangers of games. Some were trash, of course, but we're going to get into that a little bit. And then our side quest today, we're actually going to have patch notes. Now, if you remember, we did patch notes back at the end of the year with this plan of in 2026 doing more video content and things. And yes, I have done some more stuff on TikTok. We did do a couple .5 episodes with some other creators that were videos, and then life kind of gets in the way, so I haven't revisited that. But we're just going to talk a little bit about upcoming episodes. We've kind of got the next 5 or 6 mapped out. And then we want to go through and thank some of you all with some of the stats and analytics that we have. So just kind of some general pod updates, if you will. And then our next side quest is going to be Disc of the Day. Yet again, not a singular disc. But since we are talking about movie tie-ins, we're going to talk about the Lego games. So because a lot of those tie into movies, but they're
All
obviously
of them,
Legos.
I think, tie in to movies.
For the most part, yeah, I think so. I think there's some obscure ones, but yeah, I mean that's kind of where they started. So, but yeah, I think that kind of does it for our press start. Anything I missed before we get going?
Not that I can think of. Let's start talking about movie games.
All right, let's go and jump into our story mode. License to play. All right. So what's so funny? Again, it seems like every time we have a topic, it like comes up organically in a previous episode, and it's like, you know what? We need to make a whole episode out of this.
Because
And
we about Aladdin and Lion King, what, 2 episodes
I
ago? Three
I
episodes
I
ago?
know, I know. But what's funny is like we've talked about some of these other games in other capacities, but my friend that talks about the 1998 thing where she jokes she has to drink every time I say 1998.
Mm.
she brought it up too. She was like, "Y'all need to do an episode about movie tie-ins," and I said, "Oh, it's on the radar, and it was, but then we had so many other topics that popped up. We had Pokemon Day, so we had to jump in and do a Pokemon episode, and then we wanted to do a quad for MCU and all that. So it's kind of been on the radar, but we just hadn't kind of gotten around to it. And that's kind of the thing when it came up, like the whole licensed game thing. Like I remember working at GameStop and that being the thing, like the era that I worked there. Every time a blockbuster came out, a game came out. But it goes before that. I mean, so it wasn't just like when I was at GameStop 2010,
Yeah,
2011.
I remember it more like I know like SNES. I remember all the Disney games because there was quite a few of those. That's that I for sure remember. Which I know, like I said a minute ago, just the Aladdin and Lion King. We had the conversation about those.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Even like but they also had. I know. Remember, I brought it up a couple episodes ago. It's not even just like straight movie, like TV show games, because you had Home Improvement,
Yeah,
and
yep.
there
Well,
was
I forgot all about because
oh
Howie brought that up when we talked Game Gear too, and I didn't even
yeah,
realize honestly that it was a game. But I know you're right. I know they had a bunch of TV show games.
at a ton of
Um,
TV show games. So it's like, but it's not as like broad and like people wouldn't know them as much, but they were there. Like
yeah. Well, see, and I just real quick pulled up. I mean, Beavis and Butthead had a game.
oh yeah, yeah,
Gargoyles had a game. Um, I will say this: I am shocked that Mighty Max had a game that I don't remember. I'm gonna need to emulate that. I didn't know that. But like other like random like live TV shows that so yeah, Home Improvement was one. I know there's others. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. And then of course trying to Google very quickly.
and then you have like so on here like you have Power Rangers, of course, Terminator, Batman. Now this is just Sega SNES like time.
Alf had a game too, and I do remember
What did?
that. Alf,
I don't remember that one.
Alf, and then Beverly Hillbillies had a game. Like there's some sitcom shows like Home Improvement that had them, and yeah, you said Power Rangers, of course, Jurassic Park, and what's funny is they all played the same. Like they were all like side scrolling platformer style games, for the most part, and they
The
usually.
thing is, like they were always hard though.
Oh yes, that's what I was going to say. They were platformers, but they were hard. Like they were
Yeah, they
not.
were hard.
I mean, like of course we talked about Lion King. Like I still have PTSD from the daggone monkey level. Do 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 do, like constantly, just like having nightmares with "Can't Wait to Be
Yeah.
King." Played in 8-bit in my head.
From what I can remember, the Lion King was definitely harder than Aladdin.
Oh yeah, no, but see, I also remember Jurassic Park being very hard. And I loved Jurassic Park, but they all still like follow the movies though. Is the thing like they are at some capacity, like each level was
Oh
a
yeah,
scene from the movie or
yeah.
whatever.
Well,
And
that's like everyone knows. Like we talk about all the time. I'm a big Disney guy. Whatever. Got a Disney trip coming up in a couple months.
that's right, that's right.
Um, well, Lion King too. Like I remember, and I think Aladdin did it too. They, as you progress, like you would do like it would progress, and it would be like the songs would be like following the movie
Yes,
for
yes.
the level.
Well,
So that was something that was like that.
well, and that's the thing, man. In my opinion, Disney music from back then is significantly more iconic than now. And I know that might be a
As
hot
I'm
take.
wearing a Lion King shirt.
You got Lion King on. I got Call
Yeah.
of Duty on today. But I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some modern Disney that's great, But the music from back then. Now, I guess I'm a little biased because some of the songs Hans Zimmer did in Lion King. Of course, anything Hans Zimmer, I'm biased on. But that Sega and SNES era, like there was so many, and I forgot about the TV shows until you said it.
Yeah, TV. I just think because like breaking into like if you just want to go ahead and move into the next era, like South Park game. I know you know what
Oh,
I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah. Well, and but see,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
South Park, of course, gets super modern, and they've done recent stuff. But I forgot all about like Gargoyles, and then they had like a Rugrats game. They had, of course, all the TMNT games that like were tied into the
Yeah,
show.
TMNT for sure.
But I mean, yeah, when you get out of that, oh, and I guess we can't forget, like, I was trying to find like the first like movie inspired game, and ET popped up on Atari. That came
Oh,
out.
I do remember that game.
Yeah, and that came out in
I
1982.
remember seeing it. I don't remember. I don't remember playing it because again,
Me
we all know
neither.
like Sega SNES. I was young. So like I wouldn't remember. I don't remember much of that. N64, I start remember a little bit more.
Yeah, that's where I mean, because the N64 PlayStation era, I mean, I think the most obvious and biggest movie tie-in of that era has to be GoldenEye. Like it has to be GoldenEye,
Um,
because I mean that was
For
N64,
sure, yeah, the
peak
N64
multiplayer.
GoldenEye, and that's what everyone played. And again, you have the newer Disney games, Tarzan, Emperor's New Groove, Toy Story games on this around this. I think Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 were all on the original
Yes,
PlayStation.
yep.
I believe I'm not 100%
Well,
sure.
and that's
PlayStation 3 may have been on
where
PS, but I can't remember.
I think the majority of those Disney games, Tarzan, Emperor's New Groove, Hercules, I think a majority of those were on PlayStation. I don't even think they hit 64.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't remember which. So I may not have actually, believe it or not, those I may not have actually played because we didn't really play a lot of regular
yeah,
PlayStation.
because you had
We did
N64 and
N64.
then PS2.
Yeah.
But
So,
but
I will say though, I remember going to a buddy's house, and I know we have the Star Wars games on here. Do you remember? I think it was called Jedi Battles. The front of it was Mace Windu and
I think that is Jedi Battles.
I think is what it was called. But it has the front of it has Mace Windu and
Mace Windu and
Anakin on it. I think,
Obi
right?
Wan.
Is it Obi Wan on it? I
Yeah.
couldn't remember who else was on it, but I remember Mace Windu being on that because I remember it was the first one. Like you could be Mace and like you run through, and it's a co-op, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They had like in that PS1 era. Of course, that's around when Phantom Menace and the prequel trilogy came out. Which do you know off the top of your head when Phantom Menace came out? Was it 2001 or was it before then?
I think it was 2001, but I'm not 100% sure.
When did
No, wait, one might have
Phantom
been nine.
Menace?
Actually, one might have been 98.
Are you kidding me? Okay, no. Phantom Menace was 99. I was gonna say, I was like, are you telling me that we have a 98 reference unintentionally? But no, it was 99.
Okay,
So
I knew it was close to then because I
yeah,
remember, like I said, so I was 5 when that came out. So that was
well, and
I remember that game coming. I
yeah,
remember
because Phantom Menace
seeing
had a
it.
game that specifically,
Yeah.
like, it was a movie tie-in where you played, like, you started out as Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan right there at the beginning, and all that. I mean, of course, yeah, you had all the other games, but the movie tie-in, I think each movie had their own game. I just remember Phantom
Oh,
Menace was
I
on PS1 for
guarantee
sure.
it.
Because yeah, no,
Oh,
because the third one was on PS2. Revenge of the Sith came out on PS2, and I'm sure there's Attack of the Clones somewhere. I just didn't look
so
up when it came out.
I think the movie games, like you said, for this era, the next era is when I'm gonna really know a little bit more. Like I've played a lot of these games, but like the N64 era, like GoldenEye, definitely.
Well, and that's the thing you had still on the PS1 because it really for James Bond the next era, like the PS2 era, is when they really got away from the movie ones, and we started getting all the other ones. Because on N64 and PS1, GoldenEye you had, of course. Then you had Tomorrow Never Dies. You had The World Is Not Enough, and they were all like movie tie-ins. Now they had some licensing issues. That's why some of the artwork was a little different. But but then also like some of my favorite movies, like, and I'm biased obviously, like The Fifth Element had a game that's a peak Bruce Willis movie, which I don't think I've ever, you've seen The Fifth Element, right? No, have you not seen The Fifth Element?
I don't know
Lilu Multipass has Mila Jovovich in it.
if I've seen it. It's been a long time.
Oh man, we got to watch that one. But Fifth Element had a game, Blade had a game. But my favorite hidden gem
Of
on
course.
the PS1 is the Die Hard trilogy game. And no, but here's the thing. Here's what's so cool about the Die Hard trilogy game. This game had 3 games on it. it had the first Die Hard movie as a game, and it was your typical kind of third person. It actually played like a first person Doom shooter, but it was third person. But it was a third person shooter. And then Die Hard 2, Die Harder, was a first person rail shooter. And then Die Hard 3 with a Vengeance was like a racing game, kind of. Not really racing, but you were driving a cab around. So it had three completely different like things in one game, which was unheard of back then if you weren't GTA. You know, GTA obviously had racing elements, shooting elements, you know, and all that. But yeah, you're right that into the PS2 and the Xbox era, they continue very much with the direct
Also,
tie-ins.
this is GameCube too, because this is where because a
Yes,
lot of my
GameCube too.
movie games. Well, the reason I say that is a lot of the movie games I definitely played them on PS2, but I definitely played them on GameCube because like I can remember again going back to Disney games. Like I remember playing Incredibles on the
Yep.
GameCube. It was actually a lot of fun. Like I actually really liked Incredibles.
Well, and that's what's
Um,
funny. When you look at the SNES and Sega era, we talked about how they're like all the same. They were all side-scrolling platformers.
and they're not anymore.
Well, but in PS2 era, they were all still kind of the same, but now we were in that 3D space, but they were all still like platformers. So the
Well, it
style
was
kind of
it was
maintained.
cool because like I remember the Harry Potter games the most
Oh yeah.
around this era. Like because this is about when Harry Potter really got started taking off,
Yeah,
like with
I
the
think
movies and
I feel like the Sorcerer's Stone came out on PS1 and PS2. Like I think it was one of those weird dual
so I remember
generations.
playing PS or the PS2 version of Sorcerer's Stone, and I remember playing Chamber of Secrets for sure. And I remember it following. I remember being able to like basically like when you're playing the game, you're just like you're legitimately just like you're being able to run around Hogwarts. Like it's kind of like a like it's linear, but it's not at the same time. So it
Right.
was really cool because like you still could do little things where you can go to like the Great Hall and you can go to like your dorm and
See, and I feel bad that, and I know Laura's going to kill me, but I never played any of the old Harry Potter games ever. Like the first time I played a Harry Potter game was Hogwarts Legacy. You know, I mean, but I know all of those old ones existed. Like they did one for each movie.
hmm
And my understanding is they were just general third person,
well,
action games.
and the best Harry Potter game on that there was those all followed
The
the
movies.
the movies very heavy. Around the fourth one, I want to say is when it came out. Quidditch World Cup, the game,
Oh, I forgot.
and it
Okay.
was all about Quidditch.
I can.
Like,
I had the case in my head, so I googled it, and
it has it
yes,
has Harry on the front. Well, it was cool because you would start as in the like in school, so you could be the seeker. You were the seeker of whatever
hmm
wanted or whatever position you wanted to play, and then you would play for Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, or whatever, and then you would actually like after your couple years in school on your school team, you would go to one of the professional Quidditch teams and actually play for the World Cup. Like you could play that. It was
So
multiplayer.
so it was like Madden or FIFA, but for Quidditch.
Yeah.
See, I didn't play that. Now that most recent Quidditch game that's come out, I did play. What's funny when I googled that, the first version that popped up was the GameCube version. So I have no doubt you played it on GameCube.
No, that one actually we played on PS2.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
But that we did play on PS2. But I remember playing that game and me and Wayne played it. It was one we never owned it, but we owned it later, but
Yeah.
we rented it because for the weekend and we would play it all weekend, but we rented it like 3 or 4 different times
Oh, and just
because it was
yeah.
multiplayer. It was single. You could play it by yourself and play through, or you could do multiplayer.
Well, hella replay value, I'm sure. I mean, those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of games
Well,
generally did.
well, it's they kind of tried to do it like a sports game where it was like so like um when you play for was it Durmstrang, you Victor Crumb would be on your team, or when you play for like the names that they bring in the books and stuff, they made sure to put them in the game
Yeah, so
so
that it
that you
still
could play with them.
had
Yeah, so
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
if you play for Slytherin and you didn't play as a Seeker, you could play with Draco as the Seeker, and same with like Gryffindor.
I just realized how excited Laura is going to be on this episode that you're talking so much about Harry Potter games because that's her jam.
Believe it or not, I know quite a bit about Harry Potter.
Well, don't say that because then she'll want to like quiz you or something.
Well, I haven't did it in a long time, but I've read. I mean, I've read all the
Well,
books.
yeah,
And,
we've talked
you
about
know,
that.
so
Well, and the thing is, so like Harry Potter, like I love the movies, but I never really played the games. But the Lord of the Rings games are another series that, like, again, I like the movies, but I did play these games. Now, I don't know if you ever played. Did you play? I think it was Return of the King. The third one was like the one that, I think it's Return of the King. That yes. So you remember? I'm sure you do. The old like Gauntlet style games. They were like 4-player co-op. You'd pick like it was like D&D style. You'd pick like a dwarf. You'd pick a warrior. You'd pick a wizard. And all that, and then you would just go in
yeah.
and then you would level up each class and all of the things. That Lord of the Rings Return of the King game, exact same methodology, except you would pick Legolas or Gandalf or Aragorn.
That makes sense.
And dude, it was whenever I got emulators on my Steam Deck, it was one of the first PS2 games I downloaded. I feel like the second one was the Bouncer after we talked about it. But they were such good games. And I mean, they haven't really done. I mean, I don't.
Well, the Lord of the Rings that I remember, which we're not in that area yet, but just bringing it up, the 360 version of they were all like Command and Conquer
Middle Earth
games.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Conquest or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the ones that I really remember of those because that's whenever I would try to mess with them a little bit. And played those, but
yeah, it was called. I think it was Conquest. I think Battle for Middle Earth. Yeah, no, Lord of the Rings Conquest, and yeah, it was an RTS, like a Command and Conquer or whatever. But
I actually remember that game, and I remember like I know we're not on the area yet, but I played that game quite a bit.
Oh no, it was absolutely great, and that's the thing. I mean, that era, which we'll get to, is when they really started getting like there was some, but then everything started to be inspired by, and they didn't follow anymore. But the Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potter, obviously, those are two massive series that had their own games. But and I don't want to do Peter Jackson yet. We'll come back to that. But
you had that in this era, and that's not when I played it.
Well, neither did I, and that's why I'm going to wait because it was a transition title. But they did, like, Batman Begins had a game. Now, they did not have a Dark Knight. Like, this is, you can see when things started to change.
Spider-Man games on these were...
Yeah, because, see, that's the thing. You had a Batman Begins, it was a direct tie-in. The Warriors, it was a direct tie-in. Scarface, it was a direct tie-in. Godfather. But yeah, Spider-Man, I don't even want to, I was going to come back to Spider-Man, but no. Spider-Man, the first game, followed the first movie, but Spider-Man 2, I'm fairly certain I was working at GameStop.
Keep going. I'm just trying to figure something out.
I was to say I may not have been working at GameStop when it came out, but I remember at that time when Spider-Man 2 came out, the only like open world quote unquote games that you had were like GTA, and people would ask about Spider-Man 2, and it was like, imagine GTA, because that's how people processed open world at the time. Imagine GTA, but you're Spider-Man and you can swing around the city. Because Spider-Man 2, that game was the precursor that got us Spider-Man on PS4, the way that it is. Because it had the swinging, it had the...
Yeah, is Spider-Man 2 the one that you basically went through and fought, like was it the Sinister Six or whatever, where you would fight...
It followed the plot of the second movie, but with a bunch of filler stuff that wasn't in the movie, but you did have the normal story that followed the second movie, with Doc Ock and all that.
I don't remember... That's what I was trying to figure out. I don't remember if it's 2 or 3, but one of those two games, like that's what was so cool about that game is you literally followed there were so many boss fights in the game.
Yeah, it was 2. I mean, you had your main story that very much followed the movie, but then it had its offshoots with all these other villains and
Okay,
stuff.
yeah, that's what
So
that's what I'm
it
thinking.
was that
I
one, but
remember watching. I never beat that game, but I remember watching Wayne play it.
yeah, and it was, and like I said, it defined because at that time, now sure, someone could easily call me out and say there were so many open world games, but in the way open world was defined, GTA was that open world type game. You know,
Yeah.
so when Spider-Man came out, it was like, oh, it's GTA but with Spider-Man. It's kind of like when Fallout came out, which actually it's kind of a bad example, but we would say it's Elder Scrolls with guns. Now both Bethesda, so that made sense, but it was kind of the same kind of comparison. But those Spider-Man games, now after Spider-Man 2, you're right, they did do Spider-Man 3, but that was on the 360 era. But after that, they got a they still did some movie tie-ins, but then you had Edge of Shadows and all these other ones that weren't
Well,
tied to movies.
the
But
Spider-Man 3 was
Garfield's did have
also
them.
Spider-Man 3 was also on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh
I'm
yes.
looking at it right now.
Well, no. So all these games that we're talking about, that's what's so funny. Every game we've talked about, I am fairly certain had a portable port. Like I'm
So
pretty
there's
sure all the Lord of the Rings, all the Harry Potters,
yeah,
you know.
and they were, but I do remember them being a little different when
Well,
you
yeah,
played them.
they were generally like that 2D
Yeah.
side scrolling, kind of deal.
So now you have one on here that surprises me actually, but the Over the Hedge game.
Hey man, I got Over the
I
Hedge
played that
and
game on the
Madagascar.
Game Boy Advance. The Over the Hedge game was fantastic. Like you would go in and sneak into the backyard to try to take stuff from it to get ready for winter. Over the Hedge was a great call out on here that I didn't expect you to have on here.
Well, do you know why Over the Hedge popped up in my head? To be honest, so
Mm-mm.
when I was putting the list together, obviously I had to put Die Hard for PS1. Bruce Willis does the voice of the raccoon.
Oh yeah,
Over the
yeah.
Hedge. So it was fresh in my mind for that reason, and then that led me to put Madagascar because I remember there was a Madagascar game too. But they also did, like I said, Scarface and Godfather. They did Van Helsing. We already talked about Return of the Sith, but they had that Enter the Matrix game, which was a really interesting movie tie-in because it did follow the Matrix Revolutions. Revolution was the second one. Like the movie was happening over here, then you played Enter the Matrix and it followed a different team, but like parallel with the movie. And I will
That's
say,
crazy.
the combat and stuff in there, like it took what Max Payne did with Bullet Time and just blew it up. Like it was so good. They did Path of Neo too, but it was like its own story.
Well, it's like you said, like Spider-Man kind of like branched out when it came to movie games and like the way the game played, and then it kind of went from there. So like, so we're getting ready to switch areas now because we kind of went through most of the PS2, Xbox.
Yeah, but before
games.
before we do, the other one I want to bring up is again another one kind of inspired by, but that Chronicles of Riddick game.
I remember the game, but well, that's the one of.
Because
Wasn't that also on 360?
I think they may have ported it, but it originally came out on the regular Xbox because in general the regular Xbox didn't have a whole lot of. I think there was a sequel. Thank you. There was a sequel.
Okay.
But Escape from
I
Butcher
remember.
Bay,
I've never played it, but I remember the case. Whenever I remember seeing the case.
Well, Escape from Butcher Bay was an Xbox exclusive. And in the grand scheme, the Xbox didn't have a whole lot of exclusives, so that's why it was kind of a big deal. But yes, as we jump into like the PS3, the 360 era, while we're talking about Riddick, that other one is called Assault on Dark Athena. So that was a sequel to Escape from Butcher Bay. So it didn't follow the movie, but we wouldn't have those games without those movies.
So now, talking about one that we haven't talked that we were getting ready to talk about, but the King Kong game. So
yes, that was the reason. Thank you. That did come out on PS2, but it was a 360 launch title.
So I remember it on the 360 because it was one of the. If you remember, like whenever 360 games originally came out, we've talked about this before, but 360 had achievements. Like they've had it from the beginning. So since it was their launch title,
yeah,
you could get 1,000 gamer score on that game
just by beating it, right?
Simply by beating the game. There was nothing else with it. There was nothing you had to do with collectibles. There was nothing you literally just had to beat the game, and it was only like a 6-hour game. It wasn't long, So you could. It was one of those games that people would look for to get a quick 1,000 gamer score.
Well,
So
and I don't think I played that, but it was an FPS, wasn't it? Wasn't it a first person
Scott had
game?
it. Yeah, it was first person. Yeah,
Yeah,
Scott had it. So we played it up at Scott's. I remember. Um,
yeah. I hadn't played that one, but I do remember it being a launch title. But it did, it came out on PS2 also. Um, but yeah, it was really the 360 PS3 era, like PS2. I'm glad you brought up the portable aspect because I did forget all about that. Almost every major movie had a game, and then it came out on consoles, and then it would immediately come out on portable as well.
it came
Um,
out Game Boy or
yeah, Game
uh,
Boy or when we transitioned to
PSP.
DS or PSP.
Yeah.
You know, but then PS3 and 360 era, like there were still some movie tie-ins. Like I said, Spider-Man 3. Like there's some I didn't list here. They still had them, but they really started to transition away from like you'd have a blockbuster come out, um, and you wouldn't have a game, or the game that came out had nothing to do with the movie, like
Yeah, like
whatsoever.
I remember the Thor game that came out. There was the Thor game on PS. It was on PS3 and 360. I don't remember if it was on 360. I know it was on PS3 because I remember playing it. But it was like supposed to go with the movie, but it didn't really go with the movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They would come out, and you would think like they would use all the same artwork and everything from the movie, and then they wouldn't really follow the movie at
Yeah.
all. And I would argue that most of them were not very good.
No,
Um,
I didn't. I don't even know if I played through half of them. I remember playing some of them just to play them, but
because see that era, you still did have a blockbuster followed by a game. Like I'm
Mhm.
also fairly certain that they did. Um, I'm fairly certain they did a Captain America. Yeah, Super Soldier.
Yes,
Um,
I remember the Captain America. Well, it was all the Marvel games. Iron Man had a game. I know.
yep, and they all were not very good, and they didn't follow like the story like perfectly. Like the PS2 and all that, every movie game that came out for the most part followed the story of the movie. Didn't have a lot of extra. Spider-Man 2 started this kind of offshoot and then it just kind of expanded beyond that. And yeah, they did that Captain America, they did Thor, they did Iron Man. I don't think that they did. I mean, that's all your staple, but I don't think they did a Hulk. You know what? They did do a Hulk. I was thinking Ultimate Destruction on PS2, but they did do an MCU Incredible Hulk game. So yeah, I think all of the original MCU movies had their own game tie-ins. They weren't very good. They were just kind of
No,
generic
they
third-person
weren't.
action games. But they were still not. And now I will say, of all those comic
I
book, go ahead.
I think Spider Man might be the only like good.
Well, yes,
Well,
but the other comic book movie tie-in that was freaking amazing was the X Men Origins Wolverine game.
what I was gonna say is like what I was getting at is like Spider Man was the only good like super good like when it followed the
Like
movies
consistently,
like
yeah.
consistently, but then you had the blanket games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance that wasn't really off of a movie, but it still had like all the characters from
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Like those were fun.
Well, and that's the thing. When people would take an IP and make a game, it's just like when you brought up Power Battles for Star Wars. I mean, we could talk all about movies that are based on IPs or I'm sorry, games that are based on IPs that were movies that are
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Force Unleashed 2. But,
Coder,
huh?
Kotor.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that was another Xbox exclusive. But and that's the thing. You had these licenses coming out with these great games, so when they would do a movie tie-in, you'd think, "Ooh, this is gonna be a great game," and
And it would
they
be
sucked almost
terrible.
every time. But the X-Men, the Wolverine game, like it was mature rated. It had all the blood and gore. It also kind of offshoot from the movie a little bit, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
great game to play. Frankly, when they announced Insomniac doing Wolverine that comes out this year, I was really hoping X-Men Origins Wolverine was available somewhere to download, and unfortunately it wasn't. Like, there's a licensing issue with, I think it was Activision that did that.
Well, I think it wasn't. No, it wasn't. For some reason, I thought that was an exclusive to PS3.
No. It was on 360 and PS3. But it was a great game, and and I tell you another IP they did do movie tie-ins that were not very good. Were the Transformer games? Like, they did have Transformer games that came out for the movies, and they weren't very good. But then we talked about, Matt brought up. There was a Transformers game on PS2, and then you brought up, was it War for Cybertron or Fall for Cybertron?
War and Cybertron? Both of them. They were both really good.
Yeah, so when you take an IP and make a game, they do great. But when they tried to do it, based on a movie, it didn't go well. Then there was also, now I never saw this movie, and I feel bad to say it, but it was also, I think it was a launch title. Did you play Stranglehold on 360?
Yeah, well, you put it on here. I didn't know it was based off a movie.
Yeah, it's based off a movie called Hard Boiled. And I think it was solely a Japanese movie or something like that. I've never seen
that game. That game was awesome.
Oh man! Again, it took the bullet time stuff. Not that, I mean, I guess Max Payne really did originate bullet time.
Yeah, Max Payne-esque scenarios.
Dude, it was just so cool diving around, and I'm gonna tell you right now, they're making a John Wick game, and I hope that they implement some kind of bullet time mechanic in that game. Like, I totally just want to dive around and but my understanding with Stranglehold,
I was watching John Wick last night.
Oh, it's so good. My understanding with Stranglehold, though, is it either was a sequel to Hard Boiled or like a different aspect. And that's the thing. They had a couple games that were very loosely tied to movies, but were like not. Like, they did the Bourne Conspiracy. Like, the Bourne movies, you've got the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Ultimatum is the third one. The Bourne Supremacy, the Bourne Ultimatum, but Bourne Conspiracy was the game. They couldn't use Matt Damon's likeness, so it didn't look like Matt Damon, but it was a great game. It had the cool hand-to-hand combat and all that stuff, but it did follow the first movie, but it had a different title. The Wanted game, same thing. Now, my understanding on Wanted, though, I guess Wanted started as a graphic novel and then became a movie. And I guess the game followed the graphic novel better than the movie did. But regardless, though, there was a bunch of games that were coming out that were loosely tied to movies and stuff. And I can't tell you the last time, and frankly, it's the one thing I didn't write down here, kind of planning ahead, but I can't think of the last time I can remember like us getting tie-in movies or tie-in games. You think about the MCU, like, we didn't get a Guardians of the Galaxy game. We didn't.
No.
A movie tie-in.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy game. We didn't get. What was some of the other?
Fairly. I think that's just simply because they didn't do well. Like, they were bought, but like they didn't even. If I remember right, they would come out at $60, and then within a month they were already dropped to like $30 brand new, and then you could within just 6 months they were $10.
Yeah,
because they just weren't great games, so no one was buying them.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, and I'm not complaining they don't do them. I just think it's interesting that it stopped. But the other thing that kind of shows you the differences, like the games now, the development cycles are insanely long. Like, it's taken 5 years or more to develop one game. I mean, hell, they were popping these things out once a year, back then. Movies too. I mean, it was just insane.
So, something we didn't do, but again, like talking about how the difference between movie tie-ins, like you can't go through PS2, like we talk about Disney all the time, with Kingdom Hearts, like having all the elements of elements of the movies, right, but not following the movie. Like, you still have aspects of the movie, like you have your villains and but the story of it
I didn't even
It's
think about
different.
that because yeah, within each world,
It's something Disney. You thought I wasn't going to bring it up?
yeah, but I didn't think about that though. Within each world, you are kind of following the story
The
of the
story,
movie with the
but it's
heartless stuff thrown into it,
yes, yeah.
but you truly are following,
Like for instance, like if you just a quick reference, but like when you play Kingdom Hearts like 1, you go in and you're one of the first worlds is Tarzan's world. So you go to
yep,
you go there and you're following it like them trying to find like
Jane or
it's
whatever, and
Jane and you get because you go to her camp and you do stuff there and you have Turk there and you have Tarzan running around with you. You go back to the cabin that Tarzan they found Tarzan. That's where you start at. It's
I just
kind
realized by you describing this how little I remember that movie.
of so. Oh, I remember quite a bit of it. Well, but also that was a live action movie at one point too.
Well, yeah, they've done a bunch of live action.
But that live action movie was not in like it
Well,
was weird because it was like they took this squirrel moment, but they like it's literally all after the actual Tarzan like
like
animated
story.
Tarzan.
Are you talking
Yeah,
about the one that had the Skarsgård guy in it?
yeah, because
Margot
like
Robbie,
where
I
they
think, was
went,
in it.
yeah. I don't think Marco was in it. Was she? Was she Jane?
I think so.
So, but anyway, but it was weird because it was like all, but it was a good movie, but it was all like
Yeah,
after. It
yeah.
wasn't
The
where
Legend of Tarzan.
most of your live action movies are adaptations of the actual movie. This was like a sequel that wasn't
Yeah, well, and Disney
no
didn't do that one. I mean,
no
there's so many takes on that. My one of my mom's favorite takes on Tarzan. It's like the Greystoke story of Tarzan or something. It had oh my gosh, what's his name? Christopher Lambert that played Raiden in the old Mortal
yeah I
Kombat
know what you're
movie.
talking about.
But
So
no, they really they basically did what we kind of jumped into and said, like, you've got all these great IPs, just make badass games from these IPs instead of trying to take your movies and make games, because
well
every time Star Wars has had successful games, basically it has not been based on a movie,
well
essentially.
and now you have the adverse because now you have there was games coming out for all these movies. Now you have all these shows and movies coming out for all the games, like
And
the
they're
Zelda movie that just started production. All the God of War castings that we've talked about. God of War's coming out. You have Last of Us that just came out.
Well,
I
and
mean,
I think they're finally getting it right. Like, I think they've always been trying to make video game movies or video game TV shows. I enjoy everything. I have enjoyed most of them, but we can argue or agree that for the most part they're mediocre, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, now it is becoming. You're right. It's becoming like a staple to do it because these are award-winning. The Last of Us has been award-winning. Fallout has been
Fallout.
award-winning. The Mario movie, both
I haven't
Mario
seen the second.
movies.
I need to see the new one.
Oh, you do need to go see. Have you not seen it yet?
Chase, think about how much I work.
Fair assessment. Fair assessment. You need to go see it. Stay after the credits. But no, they've been doing Sonic. Forgot all about Sonic.
Sonic
Um,
was another one that was fantastic. Like the movie
dude,
adaptations of
oh,
Sonic. Like I brought it up before. There was an old TV show back in the day, but like the newer like movies, like
oh,
the way
they're
they like
so good.
they're good. I like them a lot.
Well, and
So
the fact that the third one they brought Keanu in there, and
yeah,
oh, dude, it's so like it's just perfect. But the thing is, we used to get tie-ins all the time, which is outstanding, and they're great. There's some memories with those, but the fact that now they can just take their IPs and just make really, really good movies, is great. Because I mean, I can't tell you, like, I feel like maybe as a kid I'd see a movie and I'm like, ooh, let me go play that game. That'd be cool. But I can't tell you a movie I've seen the last 10 years that I'd want to go play a game of. You know what I mean? Like, I
well,
can't
and the
imagine.
last if you go back to like 360 era and stuff, like before I know we're getting to wrap this up. I don't. I think your best games were the Wanted and Stranglehold and like the action
Where
games.
they were inspired by and loosely followed, but they kind of expanded beyond
Yeah,
that. And like I said,
yeah,
I think Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 kind of started that because it had its story mode that followed the movie, but then you had all the extra villains and all the other things,
yeah.
that kind of brought it all together. So, but it was, again, as always, it's a time that existed that no longer does. So I think that's going to do it for our story mode.
Yep. We
So
can time.
yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into our first side quest that directly ties in to the story mode. So we're going to go into Disc of the Day. So I mentioned at the top that Disc of the Day we're going to talk about the Lego games. Because
Yep.
the fact of the matter is, those movie tie-ins have continued despite
Well,
the other ones stopping.
and the thing about the Lego games, and I've always brought this up. Lego games are the games where you want to just do something that's somewhat tied in, and you don't have to think. You can just be there, like
You just go.
you know.
You can literally sit down, play a level, look for some blocks. You can do co-op. They're one of the only couch co-op games that are still a thing. I mean,
Which actually, there's one on here that you don't have. It's tied into a TV show, but it was actually it was the only one that I've actually played all the way through. Believe it or not, Lego Ninjago.
Oh yeah. Okay, because I went through like the staples, like Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings and the
these are
Hobbit.
all like I've played the Star Wars games, but
I figured.
I've played the levels. I've played through a level or two and stuff, but I've never actually like beat start the games because like I said, I don't play those to like. Yes, you can, but that's not what I'm doing with them. I'm just there to mess around and have a game to just chill. And when
Well,
I'm sitting there in a Discord and talking, then I could play it. Or no, which back then it was a party chat. But
and the methodology that they used, like for Star Wars, like they did like the original trilogy, then they did the sequel or the prequel trilogy, then they did a like complete saga where it was all of them, and then they came out with like when the sequel trilogy came out, they did the same kind of thing. Like I have on my Vita, um, Lego The Force Awakens, but apparently there's also a collection of all three. What are you staring at that has you so fired up? Is there a Lego game you were not familiar with that's Star Wars related?
no, I was looking something up because I knew they're making a new Lego game. I know that this year. Like it was, but I can't remember. I couldn't remember which one it was. There's a Zelda Lego set coming out this year.
Yes, it's already out.
It's
The
the Deku Tree.
yeah. Well, no, you know what? The Deku Tree is not out yet. The thing that's out right now is like a Ganon something or another. But yeah, they've got a bunch of Zelda Lego sets coming out.
That's what got me. I didn't know that was coming out because like this looks really good.
Oh, the tree.
But no,
Yes.
yeah. So, but no, there was a. I thought I've read. Oh yeah, it's the Dark Knight, the Legacy of the Dark Knight Lego game that's coming out.
Yes, that comes
That's what
out.
it is.
Oh, hold on, I've got it. It comes out in approximately 38 days.
Yeah, because you're buying. I remember that was on one of your
Oh,
countdowns.
absolutely.
No,
I
I
am
just
so
remember.
ready.
I remembered seeing it, and that's what I was looking for. That's what I. So I knew there was a new Lego game coming out. So like again, these are some that are still coming out. Like you have all of them based on the movies, and then you still have new ones coming out.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I feel like it started like with I don't know if Star Wars started it or not, but they did all of the Star Wars. Plus they have like
The first one that I remember is Lego Star
yeah,
Wars.
me too.
Lego Star Wars or Harry Potter, actually.
Yeah, and then they did like the Clone
Okay.
Wars and stuff, but they
Mm-hmm.
did the Lord of the Rings, they did the Hobbit. Like frankly, my PSP Vita that I've got, every game I have, like I have Uncharted and I have Mortal Kombat, but I think every other game I have is a Lego game. Like I have Lego The Hobbit, I have Lego um, Star Wars Force Awakens. Like that just happens to be the random
I
Vita
remember the
games that I've
Hobbit
had.
too. I remember the Hobbit too.
Yeah, but the of course the Harry Potter, which they did like they broke down in like years 1 through 4, and then
Yeah.
5 through 8 or whatever it was. They've done all the Indiana Jones, the Pirates of the
Parts of the
Caribbean.
Caribbean.
Dude, I didn't even know they did a Pirates, and
I remember it.
when PlayStation did their new what PlayStation Plus is now with the streaming and all of that. And I pulled up PS3 games to stream, and I saw Lego Pirates. I was like, I didn't know they did. And I was on a huge Pirates kick at the time because I'd been listening to my Hans Zimmer soundtrack and all that, and he did Pirates. And it was
That's a
so
series that I go through and just watch like
oh,
every
it's
day. Like
so
I'll just be
good.
so I turn it on for my favorite line of all of them is whenever they're on the island in the first one, and it's why is the rum gone?
Oh, I thought you were gonna
From
say
Dexter.
I got a jar of dirt. I got a
Oh
jar
no,
of dirt.
that's probably the most memorable. But the way that Johnny Depp did that, like when he was like, because they would be drinking or whatever the night before, and it was just Why is the rum gone? And
Yes.
he kept saying it. It was hilarious.
No, it. I will say, shamefully, I've only seen. I don't even know how many
Oh
movies
my god.
there are, but I have seen obviously the first three, without a doubt. I have seen the fourth. I haven't seen anything after that. I don't know how many there
I
are
think there's
after that.
only, I think there's six, five or six,
Yeah.
because when all that stuff happened with Johnny Depp, they stopped making them.
Right.
But he was in. They were fantastic because that's what I was gonna. That what I was getting at with that is like, so talking about the movie stuff. I think that game was only the first three movies.
I think so. I think they only did one Lego Pirates, and it was specifically the first three movies. Because there is only one. There's not multiple
There's
Pirates
five
games.
movies. There's
Okay.
five movies.
But yeah,
But I
it's
think because Pirates, because so there's five movies. I want to say Lego came out after the third movie, and then the other two movies, like one was the spinoff, was kind of like because they were talking about doing it and not having Johnny Depp in them at all. Because remember they tried to do the one he had a kind of a lesser role in the fourth one, and then the fifth one came out and he came back to the forefront.
yeah. So the At World's End came out in 2007, and then the game came out in 2011, which I'm fairly certain is just those first three. I did forget though they did an At World's End game on 360 that was a movie tie-in that was actually pretty good. Like it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. I completely forgot until I looked this up and I saw the case. Um, but no, then they did. They've done the animated movies too, like Lego Incredibles. They did the Lego movie. I forgot about Ninjago that you mentioned.
Lego Ninjago was like I legit like sat down. I don't even remember why, but I was bored and I found it. It was a game that was it was when I still had my Xbox. It was on Game Pass,
Oh yeah,
and I downloaded it just on a whim, and I just played it. Like I don't
didn't
know, I just
Lego games are
it would be a
fun.
game like we'd be playing COD all day, and then everybody get off, and I was like, okay, and then I would just sit there and play Ninjago for like 2 or 3 hours a night. Like, it was fun. I liked that game a lot.
Yeah, and well, this whole thing when we started talking about back in the Sega era, we talked about Aladdin and we talked about Lion King, but also Jurassic Park. They've done those Jurassic World movies in Lego. Like they've done
Yeah.
Lego Jurassic World. I
Mhm.
think there might be a couple of them, but so they've still they're still doing like movie tie-ins, but they're Lego and they always do successfully.
Well, I mean, the next one that comes out is Lego Batman. So
Yeah. And I mean, and then of course you have so many. We talked about the IPs being used to make games. I mean, there is so many Lego Marvel and Lego DC
well,
games that have nothing to do with the movies. I mean,
I
so
do. Do you
many.
remember too? What I think is funny is you remember the original Lego games, like the first couple. There was never any like talking. It was just like, oh, meh, meh,
Like The
yeah,
Sims or something. Yes.
yeah. And then now, like it transitioned to where like after the Lego movie, and you had like where Batman talked and stuff like that. Now you have like full audio in the movie or like in the games.
Yes. Yes.
Like
And
I think,
I've noticed that, which is great. Which the Lego Batman movie is amazing if you haven't seen it. But no, like their spin-offs, like they still have the grunts and stuff, but yeah, the fact they've started to do voiceovers, it's
yeah.
because of the movie being so successful and
Well,
all of
what's
that.
well, and what just talking about Lego stuff in general. Was it or what's his first name? The guy that played the voices, was it Will or David Arnett or Will Arnett?
Will
David?
Arnett, they did Lego
Will
Batman.
Arnett. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know they have a show? Me and Wayne started watching it, and it's was it Brookmasters or something like that? And literally all it is people building stuff with Legos. He's the
Really?
host. He's the
Are
host.
you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Let me see
funny.
if I can remember figure out the
Yeah,
name.
while you're looking for the name, I'm looking at my Steam library. I literally have Lego DC Supervillains, Harry Potter 1 through 4, 5 through 7, Indiana Jones 2, Avengers, The Clone Wars, Force Awakens, Incredibles, and Lego Worlds. Like those are all games
Uh
I've gotten for free over the years. Are you looking up the name of that show?
yeah.
That's so funny because Will Arnett as Lego Batman was outstanding. I wonder what it's
Lego
on.
Masters is what it's called.
Lego Masters. Is it streaming somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's still on. But it's so basically it's like one of those game shows where they take like think of like what's the Cake Boss show
Yeah,
where
yeah,
like
yeah.
you have a bunch of teams,
It looks like it
and
may not be on anymore, but
this
oh
shows it's
no,
still.
no, it says
Yeah, this
okay.
shows it's still going.
Yep, never mind, my bad. It started in 2020, right before
Yeah,
COVID.
yeah. So, but basically, what it is like it's like all these teams that just build crazy stuff with Legos, and it's like you have a theme just like you do every other one. The best part about it is
I bet
so
that's
what I
on Hulu because Fox does it.
yeah, so it is. So they break whoever gets knocked out. They'll
They
drop their
break their
stuff off.
stuff. Oh my gosh! See, all this,
Well, but you
all
gotta
this.
think the people that are on this, that is what they do. Perfect, like that is
Right.
what
It's
they
what they
do.
do for
Like,
a living. Yeah. See, all this Lego talk. A, I'm gonna start playing my Lego games, and B, I'm gonna go out and buy some kind of Lego to assemble now.
I have so many of them. Did you ever put the one I got you for Christmas together?
No, I have not. I have not.
Dude, don't feel bad because
No,
I haven't put mine
it's right
together.
over yonder. But hey, I'll have space to put it together, so I will be working on
Yeah,
it.
so
But yeah,
but I
so
think that wraps it up for the Lego movie tie-ins. Like I know we kind of got on a rabbit hole,
oh
but
yeah, would expect nothing less. So,
yeah.
but yeah, that does it for Disc of the Day. So we'll jump into our next side quest, Patch Notes. So with Patch Notes, like I said, the first time we did this, it was at the end of the year, and it was to talk about some changes that we were doing, where we changed like the intro music, the outro music, and then how I was going, we were going to try and do more video content, different things, and life kind of gets in the way at times, and those kinds of things don't come up. We're able to do this because obviously we just have to iron out basically an hour to an hour and a half to get together and record. It's much easier to do than when I did those two videos and coordinating schedules with the other creators and stuff. It was a lot.
Lining it up.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for just us to do it than getting it with somebody because like we know each other's schedules, so we can make it work. Whereas like when you're doing it, when you're trying to film it with somebody that is just another content creator, you're having to line out like, hey, do you have anything to do on this day at this time, or hey, do you have anything to do at this day on this time?
Exactly. And then there's time zones and all of that. But one thing we did talk about was trying to do more video stuff and everything. And we have done that. TikTok I try and keep up with different videos and things. Yes, we did the Instagram and yes, we got YouTube. The cross posting thing, I was still kind of working on getting that hashed out. But one thing that still am going to be trying to do more of, and we were talking about this actually right before we started recording. Some of you probably have joined the TikTok live thing that I've done a couple different times. We went live for the Dragon Ball event. We went live for the Game Awards. And, it's been a good time. And, I'm going to try and start ironing out some time to do that. Either to play something. Now, I've mentioned before, I don't have like my PS5 or my Switch hooked up to my computer, and I'm limited on PC games. But if not playing stuff, just hanging out and talking about stuff that we talk about on the pod. And
Yeah.
maybe that's exactly it. Maybe we go live to talk about the episode from that week or whatever.
Well, I told him to do it anyway because he play games every night anyway. Might as well just find a way to hit a button and turn it on.
And that's the thing. I've got unless I have late meetings, I've got obviously an isolated period of time, that I've got to do a couple things in the evening. But otherwise, it just makes sense. But the main reason for kind of having this side quest for Patch Notes, aside from just kind of talking about how things have been going and what we're going to be trying to do, the two main reasons. One, we have the next several episodes kind of mapped out, and I just want to kind of talk through what our next few episodes are going to look like. So we're going to be doing one on kind of general nostalgia, which will be next week, which is called Before It Was Cool, and very much just a big collective of so many things, and that probably has come up in various episodes. It's just talking about some of the generational differences, millennials, boomers, Xers, the Zers, the Alphas, things that we had fun with and couldn't just think about. It'll probably be just a hodgepodge of a lot of different things that we're going to talk about. But that's next week. The week after will probably be another quad episode.
We just want to make this known that these are our plans, but they may be like the way they come out. There may not be exactly how we're saying. They may move weeks around and things like that.
Well, so I was just getting ready to say our next one that's planned is going to be another quad episode, which is going to be Heroes in the Shadows, which specifically is going to be a focus around DC. movies.
Like think about our Marvel episode,
But
just DC
DC,
version.
yeah. And the reason, and thank you for bringing it up, Austin. The reason that I'm telling you these episodes, and the reason he said, "Hey, these may flip around," getting a quad scheduled is a little more tricky. So it's possible that the one I just brought up, that's before it was cool, yeah, that'll probably be next week. But the one that's DC focused might have to pivot based on Wayne and Howie's availability. So just know these may not be in this very specific order. Then we're going to get into in our hands, talking about video game controllers, peripherals, etc., accessories, not etc., accessories and etc. And then it's so funny. This is another topic that we have talked about several times, but we have never done an episode for it. These are probably going to be either back to back or kind of split up, but basically an episode dedicated to music within games. So audio memory unlocked. So thinking about soundtracks of games and sounds and music. Now, keep in mind we can't play the sounds or play the music, but we're gonna kind of go down that nostalgic rabbit hole about that, and then music in general. So remembering the burns and skips, playlists and burnt CDs, and you
As I
went
said,
through
which we brought up. We brought up with
so
Livewire and
many times.
all
Yeah.
that. So.
What's gonna be fun is that we are totally. I haven't told Austin this yet, but when we get to that episode, one of the things that we're gonna do, one of our side quests will be like making a playlist kind of thing. And what we are going to do is we will make that playlist available, like on Spotify or something. There's a way for me to
Yeah.
make a public playlist. So, and then after that, we haven't mapped out beyond that. So we've got some general nostalgia coming. We've got some DC focus, our game focus on accessories, and then we're diving into some tunes, both from and I say audio memory unlocked. Let me clarify: it won't be just games. It could also be movies. It's general soundtrack kind of music, score related music. The next one will be just specifically music, but that's kind of what's looking like for the next several weeks. But the other thing, before we wrap up our side quest, I wanted to just take a minute to say thank you to everyone who's been listening. Now, you could argue that by me saying thank you, hey, isn't this what you all normally do in the save point? Valid. But this thank you is very specific. Austin and I were talking before we started recording, and we obviously have access to analytics and data about where people listen and download and all of that, and we know people in certain places that we know who listen. But I noticed there were several locations where we don't necessarily have direct ties. So I wanted to take a minute to run through some various countries where, if you are listening to this, we just want to express our thanks for you tagging along and continuing to listen. We've got some.
Notice you said countries because
Yes.
none of them are here,
Yep.
and we appreciate it.
And we do. I'll tell you right now, there's some folks in Germany, Frankfurt, I believe, who have consistently been listening, I think, since
From the
podcast
beginning
started. Yeah.
Yeah, from the beginning.
I get a notification every Tuesday morning about the downloads overnight, and you all in Germany very much appreciate it. Don't know what time you're listening to it right now, but Guten Morgen, if so. We've also got Vietnam. Thank you all. Spain, the UK. Now, I do know some folks in the UK, so that could explain that. But Ethiopia, the Netherlands, Mexico, Jordan, Moldova, Kenya, and Paraguay. So a lot of global listens kind of popping up. So all of you all from around the globe, appreciate you hanging out with us and listening, and very curious actually how different some of our memories and nostalgia may be from your all's. So by all means, reach out to us about any of that. But outside of other countries, though, I also want to go through some cities here within the U.S. that, as far as I know, I don't know anybody, and I don't think Austin does. So, now, this is not to say you all local that we don't want to say thank you all for listening. Very much thank you all for listening in Louisville and Southern Indiana and everywhere else in Kentucky that we know folks. But some of these other locations that have been pretty consistent, and I don't want to I see some of these locations and I know where folks live. I don't want to, call out names and all that. But Ashburn, Virginia, Chicago. I can't say San Francisco, Charlotte, in Orem, Utah, Antioch, Tennessee, Fort Mill, Frank Royal, Virginia, Dallas, Rochester, New York, Council Bluffs, Iowa, Ocala, Florida, Denver, Columbus, NYC, the Big Apple, Carmel, Indiana, Queens, McAllen, Texas, New Boston, Texas, Boardman, Oregon. Frankly, the list kind of keeps going. There's a lot of various cities on here.
It's just cool to us because like we're seeing now, like we did this just as something to do, and now we're seeing that we're getting to people, frankly, all over the world. Like the downloads are going, they're everywhere. So it's cool to see. Is the big thing. So we appreciate it a lot.
And if people don't want to reach out or comment or anything, and what do they call it on Twitch? Like lurking? Is that what they call it? Where you just lurk? Yeah. So that's the thing. You don't have to reach out. You don't have to comment on stuff. You don't have to email. Just listening is what we appreciate. And it's been a good time these last 6 months. And like I said, we've kind of got the next several weeks mapped out that we kind of ran through. I'm going to try and do some more with TikTok live stuff. So just kind of keep on keeping on, as Kojima says in Death Stranding, and very much appreciated. So that's going to be kind of our patch notes for the day. So I think we can go ahead and jump into the save point. All right. Goodness gracious, another good one. Just over an hour. This is probably a little short.
This one was probably the shortest one in a while.
Yeah.
So
our last several have been, because
about an hour and 15.
Yeah, we have averaged about an hour 15 to an hour 30 the last couple of weeks, so we get a little bit of a reprieve for folks this week.
So, but overall, it was a fun episode. It was just something different to talk about, just because this kind of brings both the gaming and movie aspect that we talked about.
Because we've had episodes the last couple of weeks, game stuff, then we had our MCU stuff, and this is just kind of bridging that gap. Plus, we mentioned movie tie-ins a while ago. My friend who brings up 1998, or who drinks whenever well, she doesn't actually. She told me not to make people think she's drunk. She joked around about drinking every time it's 98. Brought up movie tie-ins. So it just kind of lines up to kind of go that route. Now, I know we kind of did this whole thank you thing in patch notes, but as always, thank everyone. We ran through some various locations. If we didn't name your location, we're not saying thank you. We obviously appreciate you too.
It's just cool to see how far across the world we've been.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, we've got the presence on the other social medias. You may not see as much content like on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that, but you can reach out on any of those platforms. You can do the email, the midnightreleasepod@gmail.com. And anytime feedback, I will say I am very curious, the folks from around the world, as you listen to these memories and these stories, I would be anxious to hear how different or how similar some of them are. And, I know like our GameStop stories may not be relevant for some of the countries listed, because I don't think GameStop ever had a presence in some of these places, but some of them they did. So I'd be very curious. We know they don't now. We had that episode a couple of weeks ago when we ran through all the closures. But yeah, so feel free to reach out or not. It's fine too. We just appreciate you listening. Next week we're going to be getting into Before It Was Cool, kind of a hodgepodge of general nostalgia, and I think that about covers it. Austin, I'll hand it to you if there's anything.
Nope, that's pretty much it. Thank you again. Please keep reaching out to us. Don't forget the Discord. You can get into that.
I always forget about that. Thank you. Yes,
so we're all four of us are on that. I know this is mainly me and Chase, but Wayne and Scott are on it quite a bit, and they are also in that Discord as well. If you want to talk to them, yell at Wayne for his opinions or Scott for his, whichever one you want to do.
Yeah, and I probably should have brought that up in patch notes. I'm going to try and do a little more with that as well. The link for that can be accessed on YouTube or in the Instagram. There's a link tree that takes you where the Discord link is. So we'll be trying to do a little more with that as well. But thank you again as always. And remember, some memories are worth lining up for.